All right, we're live. Man, I need some music. I just realized that. Like, I have music going in my head before I start the show, every show, and I think I need some real music. But that's gonna come anyway. So, want to say hi to everyone. This is only my 8th podcast. Have a new announcement, of course. You know, it seems like every podcast I change the name of the podcast. So I don't know if you guys have seen Monty Python, but you know, in Monty Python, I think it's like the movie The Life of Brian. They have a group of men that call themselves I think there's women too. Anyway, so there's a group of people, they keep calling themselves the People's Front of Judea, the People's Judea Front, and they always come up with these new names. Well, I started with Brent Knox, the podcast. Then I did IFUS, which is Idea Farm Usage Strategy. And then I shortened it and made it Idea Farm. But I came out with the best, I think, so far. It's called, ready, drum roll, So What? So that is the final answer. The podcast, the show is going to be called So What? And the reason it's going to be called So What is basically, you know, when you get all the information, you get it from news sources, they'll report the news. Sometimes they give their opinion. They say, you know, everything, but they don't tell you the so what. The so what is, what do you do with the information? And it's basically, what can I do? What can I do? How will it help me? Is it worth it? Is it worth my time? How much time and effort is it going to take? And how much time and effort is the ideal? What, you know, how much effort do I want to put into, you know, any of this stuff? Because there's so much information that we're getting now, and it just comes to us like a fire hose, and we have to just, you know, as people, I think we need to just help each other. And I'm going to do my best to kind of see what it is, and you know, what I would do about it, what my opinion is what how much time and effort I would devote. But I wanted everyone to kind of, before we start the show, in the beginning, actually we started the show, but in the first part of the show, I want everyone to imagine something, okay? You don't have to close your eyes. You can do whatever you want, but just imagine you have 1 second to live. 1 second to live. What would come out of your mouth? Let's say your loved ones are around you. What would you say? You can only say one thing. What if you had 10 seconds to live? What if you had 1 minute to live? And notice how what you do would change if it were 1 day to live, 1 week to live. And I thought, you know, what would I do if I had 1 second? What would come out of my mouth? You know, that would be the first thing. And it's basically, I think it would just be the word love. I would just want to tell people, I love you. Everything's going to be okay. Pray, right? Just pray. I don't know if I get that off in a minute. That's like a buzzer beater in sports, right? But pray, and I can communicate with you. I wish that we could find a way that everyone can just say, you know what? On this specific day, you pray and I'll talk to you. But no one really sets a communication like, what are you going to talk about? Like, anything you want to know, I'll tell you, right? I don't know what people are going to, I believe in the afterlife. So I'm going to talk about things as if there is an afterlife because I'm a Christian. You know, everyone knows what I think. But it'd be funny. The last thing that people might say if they had 5 seconds or a few seconds to live, let's say an atheist, right? So what would an atheist say? I don't know. Let's see. I thought of some ideas. So an atheist might say, I'm going to miss you. Wait. Goodbye. That's about it. That's all you can say if you're an atheist. Goodbye. It's been real. How about a Buddhist? I've lived too much life, and anything in excess is bad. I have some other life to live, but I've lived too much in excess here, so I'm out. Buddhists believe nothing in excess, right? Everything has to be balanced. How about a Taoist? I will be one with nature. Boop, gone. Christian, I already told you that one. What I think. How about a Jewish person? I know I might piss off some Jewish people, but whatever. I wonder how many Jewish people at the very last minute, the very last second of their life said, you know what? Jesus, if you exist, I want to believe you exist. Save me. Well, maybe not. I think they all pretty much said, you know, most of them said, hey, God, you know, Jehovah, how do you call it? They say it in Hebrew, right? So they say to God, I forget what they would say, but they would say, okay, God, take me up, right? Take me up. How about a devil worshiper? Maybe say Hail Satan, right? Like our old friend Richard Ramirez, that piece of trash. How about and I've seen it happen with a lot of Mormons. A lot of people they went away from the Mormon church, and then right before they get sick, that like my aunt did that, and a few other people that I know did that. And oh, suddenly I'm Mormon. I want to be Mormon. I want to do all this stuff and just make it to heaven and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, I believe now. I believe. So okay. And then the last one I thought about would be the Rastafarians. So just like, okay, let's just hit that. I get one more puff. Everyone jokes about the Rastafarian, but that's pretty much one of the things they believe is just smoke all you want, right? I think that came from Bob Marley or something. I don't know. I know it's maybe a stereotype, but Rastafarians, okay, let's smoke it before we go. So there's the so what. So the next thing I wanted to tell you tonight. So tonight, the show, we're going to talk about, have a pet update. This is my family update. Pets are my family as well. So I want to talk to you about, I'm going to talk to you about cartoons, the cartoons that we watched growing up. When I first started watching cartoons, what I saw, and the so what, like how does it apply to my life? What kind of stuff do I come up with now because of the cartoons? So the so what of the cartoons with the history. The next part will be, I'm going to talk about the worst invention ever. I'll let you guys think about it a little bit, but I'm going to get to what I feel is, it's one of the worst inventions ever, and it's still being used today all the time. And maybe the best invention that nobody uses and it's hard to find. So that's another one you can think about. So the first thing we want to talk about. So today I had a little bit of an eventful day. I had to get my cat fixed, and Haley is around here somewhere because I got to keep her in this room because she got spayed. They say that the female is spayed and the male is neutered, and neutered always sounds a lot worse. Of course, that means they're going to cut his nuts off. But of course, it says the only balls that your dog should have are the ones you throw at him. That's not a joke. I stole from my vet today. It was on the wall. But yeah, everyone has to take care of that, I guess. I mean, I'm not here to preach to people. I'm just saying that's what I wanted to do. I know the hormones go crazy in the female. They try to get out. The males act totally different, but it was just going to create a lot of chaos in my house. So got to fix her. I don't want any kittens. She's an inside cat. But basically, I don't know if you know the story of Haley, but I told you a little bit. I called her Haley because she came from the roof. I went outside and I heard her crying, and I looked up and there she was, and she came right to me, and the neighbor was like, wow, I've been trying to get that cat, and she came right to me, and she wouldn't go to anyone else but me, and she let me hold her and everything, and it was just like love and connection at first sight. And I think we were talking about that too with the vet. I think there's a connection between male cats and females because the male cats somehow love my wife more than me. It seems like they're all connected and bonded. Of course, I have little boy, the white cat, who's bonded with me, but the other two boys are really close to her. And the female cat, Haley, is really bonded with me. So I don't know if you guys ever have had that with cats where the female cat bonds with the male human, or the male cat bonds more with, and I think that is a tendency of a lot of cats because I've heard that from a lot of people. So, but anyways, I dropped off the cat this morning. She said, if there's any problem, we'll call you. So they call me, answer the phone, and say, what's going on? She says, we have your cat here, and she refuses to let me give her an examination, so we don't know about her heart. So I guess they have a little tiny stethoscope that they put on the heart and check the heartbeat, or they check the air and the breathing and everything. And she just wouldn't let them. And a little piece of me was a little bit proud because, yeah, that's my little female cat. She only really lets me touch her and hold her like that, and she doesn't trust other people. And it's kind of weird, but that's kind of how it is when you have a kid or you have an animal, and you're like, well, that animal, and someone says, it won't let me do this. It won't let me do it. Like, well, it's because it's my animal. Lets me do it. So I said, okay, well, she says, okay, we're going to do the surgery anyway, even though we weren't able to check her heart and her breathing and all that stuff. So go ahead. She seems super healthy. I don't have any problems. So everything will be okay. But luckily, everything is okay. And everything's okay because I told you little Haley is kind of staggering around here. I just brought her back from the vet today. So, but man, she wants to play right now. So basically, that's pretty much it. They clipped her nails, and I got everything done, and it was a nice day to take the cat to the vet. But you're always happy to get that animal back. So I want to talk to you about talk a little bit about cartoons. So growing up, and I have a page here. I have all my my notes. I say little notes. You don't want to belittle what you do. So when I was born, I was born in the early 70s. I was born in the early 70s, and the first remembering of any cartoons that I ever watched. Of course, my mom wrote in my baby book that it was, and I do remember it was Marine Boy. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Marine Boy. It was almost like Japanese anime type. It was the first Japanese anime cartoons that were on the television, and it was Marine Boy. And after that, it was kind of Speed Racer, Johnny Quest, and Johnny and Haji and that kind of stuff. Also remember, some of the older cartoons that were out are like Betty Boop and Felix the Cat, and of course, one time one of my friends brought over a video, and it was Fritz the Cat. Oh my gosh. And I had no idea the cartoons could be sexy. I had no idea. It's like, that was a whole new thing for me. I was like, wow. But Betty Boop was one thing. We thought, oh, she's just being pretty, right? But Fritz the Cat was a whole different level. Because we know what females, from my perspective, what females were in cartoons before we saw something like that, right? Okay, you say Betty Boop, Olive Oil. Olive Oil wasn't anything to look at, and she always got Popeye to get his butt kicked, and no one ever called out Olive Oil. You never ever realized that? Olive Oil played those two guys against each other all the time, and no one ever said, you know what, right? She knew what she was doing, but she didn't care. Olive Oil is a B, and I'm never going to change my mind about that, right? But then there was the Warner Brothers, right? Warner Brothers, when you start getting into 5, so you get older than 5, 6, you start watching Wile E. Coyote, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and nowadays you say, well, you can't make fun of people with stutters. But even, he always like, or Elmer Fudd was always like dumb, right? They would say like, oh, well, they're saying all hunters are dumb. It's like, no, not necessarily. Just that hunter was dumb. But we always wanted the rabbit to get away with stuff. And then, of course, came, I think, that time it was my favorite for many, many years. And it was, the first introduction to the superheroes. And you guys know what I'm talking about. The Hall of Justice, the Super Friends. The Super Friends was the Mac growing up. That was a cartoon. And remember that little guy, Mitzel Flick, right? You always thought, well, you find him, right? Everyone knows if you find a leprechaun, he's supposed to give you something. He's like, wow, you get gold. No, you find Mitzel Flick, you better say his name backward, or he's gonna just torment you. And he made, what is it? One of the episodes, he turned all the Super Friends into little babies, and he created so much chaos. And of course, there's Bizarro Superman. Is like the villains were so much more interesting, I think, than the superheroes themselves. And that's one thing I really liked about the Super Friends. And then, of course, and I kind of wrote down what I remember about the Saturday lineup. I guess a lot of you guys remember the Saturday lineup. It was, you woke up the first thing in the morning. It was usually like Little Rascals. And I'm going to have a whole thing about Little Rascals in my next podcast. We have to talk about Little Rascals. And but that's not a cartoon, so they don't fit here. Popeye would be on super early, and those are also on Sunday morning. But then you get the Super Friends at 7 a.m. on Saturday. You get the Smurfs at 8 a.m. And then after they started adding the Snorks, right, which are like kind of like the Smurfs with like these hoses on their head that lived underwater. They created these whole mythical characters. And I was like, yeah, kind of got into it. Not too much. All-Star, right? He had a star on his chest. And I guess you guys probably remember a little bit of the Snorks. Some of you might have been too old or too young, but and then He-Man, of course, sometimes those were on, but I kind of outgrew. I was a little bit getting too old when He-Man came out. And then on Sunday, of course, you had like, Tom Hatton, he's like would play the reel, and it'd be like Popeye, and he showed Popeye clips. And then we also watched a show that you guys have seen. Remember Davy and Goliath, right? Davy and Goliath was like Gumby, but it was put on by the Lutherans, so it was had some Christian moral message. But everybody watched, or at least we watched, Davy and Goliath, because every now and then, since it was claymation, there would be like a total smashing of something. Like something would just be totally mucked up. Like, oh my gosh, look at Goliath, the dog gets smashed into the wall. And they would just really have a good time with the claymation. So Davy and Goliath was the first thing. And then usually on Sunday, we go to church after that. So that was my Saturday and Sunday. And I wanted to just kind of reminisce with you guys about what Saturday and Sunday used to be. And a lot of times you talk to the kids nowadays, you say, you guys had no idea. There was nothing else. I mean, if you had a VCR, yeah, you could record it and watch it over and over and over, and then set up the timer, right? We had the VCR with the cord attached to it, right? That was the remote. And then you lay down, and I remember we would record TV shows and movies, and it was a really good movie. Like one time we recorded Star Wars, right? Or Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark was on. I'd be laying down on the floor, the whole family be watching, and all of a sudden, here comes a movie, here comes a commercial, and you want to pause the commercial, and everyone in the family goes, pause, right? So then what would happen is we would watch those tapes over and over. So I might have Star Wars, but it has a little part when you start recording again, or someone was sleeping, you'd have a little bit of a commercial, or you'd have a little piece cut out. And then the audio, so the more you watched it, the worse the tape got. So it would just get all jumbled up, and it was like, you can't understand what they're saying. And so, like when Darth Vader, for example, it's like, it be true. You know it to be true. He says, and I don't know exactly what he said. It got cut out. And so that's what happened with our generation. It's like when it came out and you could watch it on the smart TV, you could watch it over and over, or it came out in DVD. We could really understand what happened, because, with the quality, it was just awful what we got. I mean, if you weren't brought up with cable, even if you were brought up with cable, you didn't have video on demand. You had to record that. You had to, or see when it showed up on the menu, right? Everybody remembers back in the day, this isn't even in my notes, but it's coming to me right now. You remember that growing up, you had a cable box, and the cable would get all scrambled, right? But you try to put it on the naked channel, and every now and then you'd see a boob. It's like, oh, look, a boob, look, right? Well, I didn't say it, look, because you'd wait till everyone's in bed, nobody's around. You can't have an accomplice in this, especially in family. They'll snitch on you. Yeah, that's right. Smurfs and Snorks. I saw that comment. You're right, Heather. Smurfs and Snorks. Anyways, sometimes I see what you guys say. I'm sorry. I just catch up with the called like osmosis, or I don't know. So the next thing I was going to talk about is, so we went over some cartoons. So what did I learn from cartoons? Cartoons taught me just have a good time. But one of the things I did learn, and that I'm watching right now, is watch all the cartoons in order. So I've watched all the Flintstones, like all the way up until like season 3 or 4. I kind of got bored of it before they started having kids and Pebbles and Bam Bam. And I never realized all the different openings and how things started out, and how Fred got, how he's working, and all the different changes that happened. But what has just been the most is watching The Simpsons. So I've been watching the number one most popular cartoon of all time. If anyone ever asked you, it is The Simpsons. And right now I've been watching, and I'm watching him from one. And I did that with Seinfeld, and I've done that. This is great for our generation, because, you catch this show after it's already, you get a piece of it. You didn't watch all of it, like Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld, you can't watch Seinfeld unless you watch the whole thing. If you don't get the very beginning, you'll never get the whole thing. And so watching these from season 1, episode 1, the pilot, all the way in order it's just heaven. It helps you put so many things together. It's like puzzles, right, in your brain. And that's what's going on with my brain. It's like The Simpsons, right? Saw so many Simpsons episodes, little pieces here and there, like Down with Homework and all of Bart Simpson stuff and stuff that Homer would say. And you catch all these little clips, but you never put them together. Well, when you take it, you have character development, you have people development, you have the neighborhood development. So I'm in season 8 right now, and I should be getting done with season 8 pretty soon. That means I've watched 8 Halloween episodes, and I just love The Simpsons. The last one I just saw was like the X-Files, which was just awesome, right? They had a little alien coming out. You find out who's the alien, right? Homer saw an alien. Find out at the end it's Mr. Burns. Sorry if I blew it for you. But my suggestion is find some of your favorite shows. You've probably already done this, but start from number 1 and go all the way. Because, of course, my wife helps because a lot of these shows she's never seen. Even, she thought Friends was like the best show ever until she saw Seinfeld, and we started from the very beginning, and she got hooked, and now she loves Seinfeld. But I know every one of those episodes now. Of course, what is it? 2.5 Men. That's another one we did the whole way through. So TV, there's my TV recap. Some of the things I know about what I'm watching right now. So here's a technology. I want to talk to you about. There's a couple more things. The technology, it's horrible, right? An invention, not technology, but invention. And I want to tell you what it is. The worst invention ever is the plastic fork. Why? Because it's made of plastic and it has a little tiny shard. So it's like, I have an idea. Let's get something that has little metal shards in it so people can eat with it. Well, what are they going to do with it? They're going to put it in their mouth. Can you imagine the person that brought this to his boss and say, hey, look what I invented? And the boss said, hey, good idea. Yeah, let's put little jagged plastic things that could break off into people's mouth and let them chew and eat with it. So I don't know the statistics, but how many people do you think go to the emergency room, even die, and get their whole insides chewed up because of a plastic fork? But no, they want to ban the plastic straws, right? Because they screw up the seagulls and the marine life and everything else. What about plastic forks? Okay, so the other thing I want to do, ban the plastic fork. So there's your so what. So what? Ban the plastic forks. Anytime I see a plastic fork, I throw it away. I go to a friend's house. Oh, I got to hold myself. I won't do it. I'm not going to throw away their fork. I'll throw away my plastic fork if I see it. No plastic forks are allowed in my house. So there you go. There's an invention that sucks. So the other thing I want to talk about is an invention you don't see too much anymore, which is a great invention. And you used to, and I'm going to give you some hints before I tell you what it is. You used to see these at Best Buy. You used to see them at Circuit City back in the day. Used to see them at all kinds of stores, car stereo shops, all this kind of stuff. What is it? Help keep you from getting a ticket. It's the radar detector. And I always thought, well, how come you go to Best Buy, you don't see radar detectors? You even go to like the back alley, the little mom and pop stereo shops, they don't have radar detectors. My friends, back in Florida, he used it and he showed me how it works, and he stopped him from getting tickets all the time. And I also was reading an article that cops were using some kind of device that will tell you if someone has a radar detector, and they're trying to target those people for traffic tickets. But it didn't work because it would tell them, okay, this person has a radar detector, but the person had already slowed down. So I am going to get a radar detector. It's on my list. I need one. It'll stop you from getting tickets. I've had too many tickets, and I'm just tired of finding all the loopholes. I never pay them anyway, so I find ways out of them. But this is the way. It's a preventative measure. Radar detectors. Radar detector is going to come back. They're coming big. I'm gonna to get one, and I'm gonna try it out, and I'm gonna show it to you and let you know how it works. So, radar detector. So I think, let me see what else I have to talk about today. I hope you guys are having a great evening. And if you're watching it in the day, then hope you're having a great day. So on the next show, so I'm going to tell you what's going to come on the next show. I'm going to wrap this show up. Last show I missed the funnest thing to say. We used to say it. Me and my friends would sit in the stands in high school and watch sports, and we would sit there and we would say this over and over, and it's 2 words, and it used to be on shirts, and we used to laugh about that too, and I can't find them anymore. That brand isn't there, and it's called Catch It. And if you say it loud over and over, you get the point, right? So you and your friends go to a baseball game. You want to sit together. You want to have a good time. Two things you could say. Someone does something stupid. You say, Dick, Shanary, Dick, Shanary. How about catch it, catch it, catch it? Okay, I didn't cuss, okay? Even though I checked the box, this is not for kids. I did not cuss. You can get away with it, right? So next show, I'm going to talk a little bit about diabetes, what I've been dealing with type 1, type 2, the difference, blood sugar, what it means, some of the things I've done, supplements. I'm going to talk about supplements, some of the things that are good and bad. I'm going to listen to some of your suggestions. A lot of times I get comments and I think they're excellent. So I love the comments. There's everything from cinnamon. So we're going to talk about all the different extracts and how they use them, how they give you energy. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite lunches that I ever have, and it's an excellent, and it's made with spinach. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it tastes good. I didn't know spinach tasted so good. Speaking of olive oil, right? If it weren't for spinach, there would be no Popeye. So, and that is pretty much it. We're also going to talk about the Little Rascals. And tomorrow, it's on Friday. So Friday, I'm going to try something new that I haven't done yet. And I'm going to have a mystery guest. So I'm going to have a guest on the show Friday. I'm going to try a little back and forth, a little interview, see if we can get some good information out of this person, find out what they do, find out something new. But I'm going to have a mystery guest. I think you're going to like it. And so come in, stay tuned. And Friday is going to be the event for the mystery guest. So thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate your support. Remember to like and share, follow, subscribe, anything you can to let your friends know. You know, I was watching my show the other day. I'm realizing every day I'm getting a little bit better. I think it comes from the fact that my mom was a teacher and my dad was kind of like a mechanical engineer. So you take those two together. And I think I'm a decent storyteller, and I'm going to work hard at getting better at it every day and putting interesting things up so you guys we talk about it when you do the so what. But what are you going to do with it, right? So what? The fork, throw it out. Plastic forks, out. Pitufos, out. Smurfs, in. So thank you guys again. I'll see you guys on Friday, okay? Until then, just watch out for those plastic forks.